Hey guys, today's video is going to be very different from usual. Midweek, we had the opportunity to play against a professional team from Switzerland. So today, I'm going to break down the main things that I learned.
Good quality.
We played against SR Delémont, a team from the French-speaking part of Switzerland. This is a professional team that currently plays in the 4th tier of Swiss football, and all of their players are professional, getting paid to play football. From the off, just looking at the individual players, it was clear that every single person in this team was an athlete. Even the smaller players had big, strong legs and a very solid physique. Naturally, being that strong, it can also be a little difficult to carry yourself through 90 minutes of the match, but I'm sure that their conditioning was also up to scratch. From a psychological point of view, every player seemed extremely calm, extremely relaxed, but at the same time, very focused on executing their process during the game. There was a lot of trust in their team. They stuck to their process, and even though we managed to hold them off for even the whole of the first half and they didn't score, they didn't have any success in our final third, they still stuck to that process and they didn't become obsessed with the outcome of winning. That brings me on to the first thing that I learned playing against and watching this professional team. Number one was the trust, calm and confidence that they had on the ball and also with each other. Naturally, it can be easier to play with confidence when you're playing against a team that is lower down than you. It can also be easier to play with confidence when you're playing in a system which is very well drilled and you know exactly where your teammates are going to be. However, there was also another aspect of belief and togetherness in their team on the pitch. There were many moments where the players elected to play a one-touch set or a bounce pass into their teammates and not pass on responsibility to them, but put them in the position where they could be successful for the benefit of the team. I think lower down the leagues and at our level, we have experienced this a few times this season. A lot of players want to win games by themselves. A lot of players want to have an impact every single time they get on the ball, playing forward passes or beating people in 1v1 dribbles. But often the better decision is to facilitate the attack. There's nothing wrong with being positive. There's nothing wrong with taking risks and being direct in the final third, where you can actually have an impact, where you can play an incisive pass that is going to get someone through on goal. But there's no point trying these things in your own half. Often in your own half, it's better to switch the ball away from pressure and play as a team. That brings me on to my second point. The speed of the players' decision making was incredible. You can see in these clips how even when the ball is far away from them and they don't expect to receive the ball in that moment, the players are constantly checking their shoulders, scanning and bringing awareness of their next decision to their mind before they receive it. Not only does this allow them to make a quicker decision when they are on the ball, but it also helps them to take up better supporting positions when their teammates have the ball. The player who stood out to me, who was exceptional at this, was their centre-back, also their captain, who was constantly checking his shoulders, constantly facing forwards with his hips and his shoulders towards the game, even when receiving from the sides. This allowed him to play quickly. This allowed him to facilitate the team's attack. I think often at the lower levels, we look at a centre-back and we view defensive solidity, we view being strong in a tackle and being good in the air as the fundamentals. But in a team higher up, in a team that is professional and really wants to play football, you have to be able to make good decisions with correct technical execution consistently throughout a game. The speed of decision making was also helped by the players' instincts to be able to switch the ball away from pressure. Many moments they got the ball into advanced areas, but instead of trying to force a pass down the line or squirt a ball into a striker or whip in a cross and hope for the best, they decided to recycle the ball around the back, around the arc of their fullbacks, their centre-backs, and go down the other side. This is what I mean when I talk about facilitating attacks. Sometimes at the lower levels, we bring our ego onto the pitch and we want to execute, we want to show how good we are because we haven't quite got that approval yet. We haven't signed that pro contract yet. But these professionals stick to their process so much, and it's not about them doing something, it's about them helping the team to do something. The third and final thing that really stuck out to me watching Delémont play was their directional first touches when they received the ball. Because they had made their decision so early, they knew exactly what they wanted to do before the ball arrived at them. It allowed them to take touches away from pressure. You saw centre mids take touches away from pressure as if they weren't even being marked. You saw centre backs take touches in directions to set themselves up for the next pass. And you saw attackers and wingers take directional first touches into space to be dynamic and aggressive. Playing against this professional team, it was clear to see that that quote by Andrea Pirlo was spot on. Football is played with your head, and your feet are simply the tools. Naturally, these players had tools which were extremely efficient. They had great first touches, they were brilliant at passing the ball, they were brilliant at executing what they wanted to do. But before they got to the execution, they were incredible at making early decisions and knowing what to do before the ball arrived. The final thing that I learned watching this team play was watching one of the players who was actually on our team. Jordan, one of my friends and one of the guys who lives here in the villa, he doesn't play for Alicante City FC. He plays for a Preferente team who play in Elche in the 5th division of Spanish football. He is also a central midfielder, and when he played, he looked extremely relaxed, he looked extremely confident, and once again, he never felt rushed when he received the ball. It never looked like he was panicking, it never looked like he was in a battle. It looked like he was in control of what he needed to do because he was already making his decision before the ball arrived. His awareness, his scanning, his timing was incredible, and that allowed us to play out of pressure a few times and made it very difficult for the opposition in the first half. It wasn't a surprise that when he came off, it was a little bit more difficult for us to play out, and we were under the cosh a lot more in the second half. In the second half, Jean, playing right back, also got into a 50-50 inside the box and gave away a penalty, which was dubious, but nonetheless, the opposition striker stepped up to the spot and Nick made an incredible save. Just moments later, the ball was worked around to one of their players about 5-10 yards away from the edge of the box, who took a touch which bounced up. He went to strike the ball on the half volley and it took a wicked deflection, taking it into the top right corner. It was definitely frustrating to concede a goal in that way for the team after having played so well against a professional team, after having just saved a penalty as well. But to be fair, it was coming and we had already sustained and absorbed a lot of pressure. Not long after this, I was substituted onto the pitch, and although I'm a central midfielder, I was substituted in at right wing back. About 3 minutes after I came on, their left winger made a very intelligent run from out to in to receive a ball on his chest and finish into the bottom left corner. I tracked him, but I didn't get anywhere near tight enough to stop him and put enough pressure on him to make that shot difficult. I had a couple of okay moments during the game, but in general, my performance was not the best. It was one in which I felt pretty lethargic, pretty tired both physically and mentally, following on from the weekend that I had previously. The weekend before, our team drew 0-0 in what sounded like a frustrating fixture, but I was not present. I was attending the wedding of one of my close friends, old coaches, and really the person who introduced me to football, Ivan.
Yeah, boy! Sisi! Ole!
It was a weekend in which I allowed myself to forget about taking football seriously for 2-3 days and definitely indulged a little bit too much. However, it was a very enjoyable and emotional event. I linked up with some of my old teammates, guys who I played with when I was 16, 17 years old, and I was still playing as a goalkeeper. These are the guys who introduced me to football, who showed me the love and support when I was just getting used to the game and making loads and loads of mistakes. Without the people that I was able to reunite with in that environment, I would not be here today. Speaking with my coach before the wedding, Dean gave me almost a blessing to go out and enjoy myself and have a few drinks, and he explained that while, yes, of course, I want to make it as a professional footballer and we're on this path and we have to be disciplined and consistent, there's also other aspects to life. And returning to football the following Monday, I felt refreshed, renewed, and even though I was quite tired, I missed the ball. I missed training. And I think when you enjoy something so much, it can be healthy to step away from it now and then, to return to it with more energy, more enjoyment, and more love for the game. So despite my far from ideal performance against Delémont, the Swiss professional team, I was very grateful still to be a part of that experience and to understand more what it takes to be a professional footballer. I think sometimes when you watch the Premier League and the Champions League, those systems and those professionals are so high up that it's difficult to reach those levels. Having dreams and goals is amazing, but don't forget to look at the people around you, to look at the actions on a day-to-day basis that you need to execute to become that little bit better, to push into the league above you, to push into that team at the top of your league. Remaining grounded in your reality, understanding where you are as a footballer in your own journey, and knowing what the next steps you need to take to reach that higher level. Often that can come from looking at the players around you. Who are the best players in your team and what do they do differently to you? Who are the best players in the leagues a couple of leagues above you, and what do they do differently to you? If you're not starting, why is that player starting over you? Is there anything that you can steal from his or her game and apply it to your own? That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed a slightly different approach and took away some useful tips from my experience playing against a professional team. Remember that all progress is a process. Don't expect yourself to reach that level in 1 or 2 days, in 1 or 2 weeks, in even 1 or 2 months. But if you keep working with consistency, if you keep showing up every day and apply yourself, then you will find that you do progress. Remember to enjoy your own process of progression. Remember to enjoy your own unique footballing story. And remember, ballers find a way.
Hey.